there used to be a first-timers camp where you went for 4 nights, and they'd have older people as staff. They'd bring back alum. I was a first-time camper or counselor for several years, and Rob Johnston, who's the caretaker, who's been at Camp Echo for years and years, used to come in for the 4 nights, and he'd take the youngest boys, and he happened to have the cabin with my son in it. And we have all the counselors write letters home, counselor camper letters home, to tell the parents, you know, how their kid was, what they did and all that. And you would think for 4 days that you couldn't get to know a kid that well, and to write letters for 4 days was kind of a waste. But we got the most gorgeous letter from Rob Johnston that I kept. And in fact, I've kept all my kids' camper letters. But he so figured out my son and pegged him and knew him in those 4 days, and it was such a beautifully written letter that at my son's bar mitzvah service, I read that letter, and Rob happened to be in the congregation at the time. So that was very special. Well, actually, it's a funny story. I started out, before there was a child care center, I was the babysitter, and I babysat a couple mornings a week in the baby sitting, and actually for a while Beth Geiger assisted me. So Beth and I were the babysitters, but it grew to be kind of a big deal. And then I started teaching fitness classes, so I needed a babysitter. So they expanded babysitting, and it just got bigger and bigger and became childcare. And my kids did the childcare there, and they were very happy. The women were very caring. It was nice to know that I could be in the same building. If there was a problem, there they were. And so it allowed me to get out and do something, even though I wasn't working full-time. I had a part-time thing going, which was important to me, and yet I knew my children were being very well taken care of. And then I started teaching. One thing led to another, and there was a gym and stuff program for 2-year-olds, and I started teaching in that. And then that was successful, so we started a Just for Threes program. So I was the first teacher for that. And then that was successful, so we went to more for 4s. And then we started a Just for New Threes for the kids who turned 3 in the middle of the year. They weren't quite ready at the beginning of the year, but the middle of the year they needed something. And then Alive with Fives came along, and all of a sudden, here we are. They moved. I had left at this point, but they were over at St. Mary's and had a huge daycare facility, after-school care, morning care. So it just grew from, you know, about 4 babies being taken care of while their moms did some exercise to a huge deal. Eliza was the only one of the 3, timing-wise, who was able to take advantage of all the levels of the preschool. Sarah did more for 4, Zach did Just for New Threes. Alive with Fives came into being, and it was a wonderful opportunity for Liza. It helped bridge. It could be kindergarten if you wanted it to be, but if you felt your child needed another year before they went to kindergarten, it wasn't like they were repeating anything. What preschool has the use of a swimming pool? What preschool in Evanston has the use of the gym facilities? What preschool has the, you've got everything there. You've got older people, there's just, the kids get to see real world too while they're in preschool, going back and forth to the pool and the gym. They see members going to the fitness classes. They have things to aspire to. It becomes a way of life. Exercise is nothing new to them. They're going to the gym, but they see adults in the fitness center doing it. It's just, what a healthy way to grow up. I've been away from it now for a long time because my kids are older, but the ratio was always good. The caring of my children, I never worried about them. I work in the schools. I know the importance of reading, writing, and arithmetic, but I happen to hold as high learning to be with people, learning about life, learning to be responsible, learning to work with others. Because, in the end, when you get a job at age 30, no one's going to care if you answered D on a multiple choice test, but are you dependable? Are you responsible? Can you work with others? Are you polite? Are you respectful? Those qualities are really important, and not many places really work on those anymore because the emphasis is on getting the test scores high. I really believe that the Y triangle sort of says it all, the body, mind, and spirit, and they stand behind that. No one side is more important than the other, which to me is a very important message. It's not like, you got to work out. That's the most important thing. Just make sure you burn those calories and you get your heart rate up. That's not more important than the teamwork, the working together, being responsible, and the spirit, how you treat others, how you treat yourself, really looking at life and figuring out what really is important. And the rippling effect is amazing. I see it at the high school. I could probably, because of some things that I do at the high school, I work with a lot of volunteers, and I probably could pick out kids and say, you went to Echo. You're an Echo person. Just by virtue of how they carry themselves, how they step in, how they get involved, enthusiasm. They are the ones that sign up for community service. They're out there, they're doing. So they really are taking the values of what has been taught them, what they've experienced, with them. It's been ingrained, and it does travel beyond the Y. It's interesting because the first thing I did when my husband and I moved to North Carolina for 4 years, I went to find a Y. I just assumed all Ys were like this Y. And I went to the Y. I was going to volunteer services and everything else, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They had a pool, and they had some fitness stuff, but as far as all that extra, there wasn't a sense that the Y had anything to do really with the community, except for it was in that community and offered fitness things. It sort of blew my mind. I've been around a lot, and I find the Evanston Y very unique, and it has taken being a part of Evanston seriously. It would be very hard to split them up. I don't think Evanston would be Evanston if the McGaw Y wasn't here. And I think Foster McGaw probably felt the same thing. I've got to admit, the Y has had a huge impact on us, and it's a very important part of who we are. It's so hard many times to hold on to one's values as the world changes so fast. So I would hope that it would hold on to that and not ever have to buckle to financial worries to the point where it becomes a business, and loses the family feel, the community feel. I hope that society or whatever could sort of swing the pendulum back a little bit and maybe establish in some way some of the clubs at the high school level or junior high level, because I think my work there and what I learned there is a huge part of who I am today. I mean, what I do in the women's club, that came from the Y. Different boards I've been on, that came from the Y. Just stepping in, volunteering, whatever, that all stemmed from Little Women when I was 10 years old, and just became a part of who I was on a weekly basis. That's just what you do. For 125 years, it's been a force to reckon with in a positive way. It's so far it's held on to its values, and I see it, changing with the times where it needs to, but still keeping strong and holding on to what it believes in and holding on to its mission. I haven't been there late at night or early in the morning recently, but for 10 years I taught the 6 a.m. fitness class 3 mornings a week. So I would get there about 5:30 and chat for a while with Dorothy, who handed out the towels. She had been a fixture at the Y for years. And so, I'd get up early, and I'd try not to wake anybody in the house, and I'd get to the Y and spend about 15 minutes just chatting with Dorothy. And, there were people early in the morning, not a lot. My crew who came to the fitness class, they were there every 3 days a week. They never missed. Late at night, as a teenager, we had slumber parties there at the Y. It was pretty cool to be sleeping in the gym, and then at 3 in the morning, the counselor or whatever said, "Let's go to the pool, let's go swimming." That was pretty cool. That was fun. But that's a long time ago. But I know it's a buzzing place at all hours of the day and night. Well, it created, the family camp especially for the 5 of us, it was the ultimate vacation for a family, in that the only decision you had to make was when you would take a shower and if you wanted to take a shower. This is the one family vacation where I, as the mother, felt like I got a vacation too when I was with the kids, because I could be with them or they could be apart from me. We'd go in and eat, and when they were done eating, they could get up and run around and play, and I could sit and talk with some adults. I didn't have to worry about them because there was staff. They could, if they didn't like the food, they couldn't blame me because I didn't pick the restaurant. There was, that's what it was, and there was always peanut butter. They could make themselves a sandwich. They got a sense of independence. We shared a cabin with another family that we're very close to, and they had kids as well, and we'd go back to the cabin and, put a fire in the fireplace, and Andy would play the guitar, and we'd sing a little bit. But the kids would be out really late in their mind, and they'd come, sneaking in really late at night, thinking that they'd really pulled one over on us. And all along, we know that they're safe. There are counselors there, they're watching. So they got this sense of independence and this sense of being able to do things without mom and dad hovering over them, and yet we were there too. And they saw us do things that they probably wouldn't see us do on other vacations. So that was a very special time for all of us, and I think that's what helped blend that body, mind, spirit, because we had a very unique time for about 15 years. We spent that together, and we can all relate to it, and there are times we'll be all together and we'll say, "Remember that time at camp?" Or remember the so-and-sos? Or who was the people who always stayed in that cabin? They always washed their windows. They brought their own cleaning stuff from home. Who would do that? That type of thing. So we all have the same story and memories.